Because what you're about to hear is not random. You didn't find this. This message found you. There is a reunion forming in the spiritual realm that no human logic could predict. Not timelines, not distance, not silence, not pride, not even pain. God himself is orchestrating it, and the way it will happen, it will break you open not to hurt you, but to heal you forever. Angels are whispering this clearly right now. If you've been trying to move on, if you told yourself, it's done, it's finished, I surrender it. If you stopped chasing, stopped explaining, stopped begging, this message is for you, because your silence did not end the story. Your silence activated God's intervention. Angels say the reunion coming is not loud at first. It doesn't begin with messages or apologies. It begins with a sudden inner collapse on their side. Someone you never expected to return is being confronted by God in ways they can't escape. They are replaying moments, your laugh, your absence, your strength when you walked away, and it's shaking them, not because they lost control, but because they lost you. Angels say they thought you would always be there. They believed time would protect them from consequences. They believed silence would fade the bond. But heaven says no, because what you shared was not ordinary. It was divinely permitted. That connection wasn't built on convenience. It was built on assignment. And now, God is reuniting you the old way, not the painful way, not the unfinished way, but in a way nitrogen monoxide 1 saw coming. This reunion will not look like the past. It will not come through chaos. It will not come through confusion. It will come through humility, surrender, and truth. Angels say something shocking, and yes, when it happens, it will break you. Not because it's cruel, but because you never expected God to answer this prayer now. You may have cried about this months ago. You may have begged in secret. You may have stopped believing entirely. But heaven never forgot your tears. Angels are showing a vision right now. A door you thought was permanently closed, opening without effort. No forcing. No chasing. No convincing. Just alignment. This reunion is not coming because you asked again. It's coming because you let go. And that is why it's powerful. God says, when you stopped trying to control the outcome, I stepped in. Angels want you to hear this clearly. Someone who once walked away thinking they were free is realizing they lost the one person God assigned to them for growth. They are being humbled. They are being awakened. They are being prepared. And you are being protected. This reunion will not pull you backward. It will not repeat cycles. It will not reopen wounds without healing. It will come with accountability. Because God is not reuniting you to relive pain. He is reuniting you to redeem purpose. Angels say the reason this will break you is simple. You already accepted life without them. You built strength. You rebuilt faith. You learned to breathe without their presence. So when God brings them back whole. Aware. Different. Your heart will not know how to respond at first. Tears will come unexpectedly. Memories will surface, and you'll realize God was working the entire time, even in the silence, even in the distance, even in the ending you thought was final. Angels say, this reunion will shock others. People who watched you walk away, people who assumed it was done, people who doubted God's timing. They won't understand it because they weren't part of the covenant. This is not about romance alone. This is about restoration, of trust, of destiny, of what was interrupted. But hear this warning from the angels. This reunion will come in stages. With conversations you never had, with truths you never heard, with apologies that are sincere, not forced. And you will have a choice. To step forward with wisdom, not with desperation, because the version of you that God protected during the separation is the version he wants present at the reunion. Take a breath right now. If your heart is racing, if Your spirit feels heavy, but hopeful. If something inside you is saying, "This feels real," that's confirmation. Angels say you are meant to hear this today. Angels say something most people never understand. When God is silent, He is not absent. He is rearranging everything. What you experienced as distance, heaven experienced as preparation. You thought the silence meant the story was over. Angels say the silence was actually sacred, because there were things God could not heal while you were still connected the old way. There were patterns that had to break, attachments that had to loosen, egos that had to be humbled, and yes, hearts that had to be cracked open. Angels say this clearly, not to punish, not to deny, but to prevent a future built on instability. The bond between you was real, but it was being carried by one side more than the other. You were giving, you were waiting, you were hoping, and God saw the imbalance. So He stepped in. Angels are showing that during the separation, you were being strengthened, while the other person was being confronted. You were learning to stand alone. They were learning what life feels like without you. You were growing spiritually. They were being stripped emotionally. That's why the silence felt unfair. You were healing. They were unraveling. Angels say something powerful here, and they didn't like what they saw. At first, they distracted themselves. Work, people, noise. But distraction only works for so long. Eventually, the quiet came, and when it did, your absence became loud. They started noticing patterns. They started feeling emptiness. They started realizing that what they lost wasn't replaceable. Angels say God allowed delays, disappointments, and emotional wake-up calls in their life, not out of cruelty, but correction. Because the reunion God is preparing requires maturity, not nostalgia. Meanwhile, God was doing something equally important in you. You were being trained not to chase. You were being taught discernment. You learned the difference between missing someone and needing them. You learned how to surrender outcomes without losing faith. That growth was not accidental. Angels say, because the old version would have accepted less than God's best. So God delayed the reunion until you became stronger than your longing. This is why, right now, you feel different. You still care, but you're no longer desperate. You still remember, but you're no longer stuck. You still hope, but you're no longer begging. That shift is divine alignment. Angels say, the most painful part of the separation was necessary. You stopped making them your source. And that's when God said, now we can talk about restoration. Angels reveal that the person you're meant to reunite with is currently experiencing something intense internally. They are questioning decisions. They are revisiting moments. They are realizing how rare your presence was, not because you were perfect, but because you were consistent, sincere, and spiritually connected. And now, God is removing their illusions. What once felt like freedom now feels empty. What once felt exciting now feels shallow. What once felt justified now feels heavy. Angels say. And that is the beginning of the transformation. But hear this carefully. The reunion does not happen simply because they miss you. It happens because God finishes His work. God is correcting communication issues, healing pride, removing fear of vulnerability. Because if they return unchanged, a cycle would repeat. And God refuses to rebuild something just to watch it break again. Angels say the timing is precise. Not early, not late, right on schedule. You may notice signs right now. Dreams, repeated numbers. Sudden memories. A strong urge to pray for someone you haven't spoken to. Those are not coincidences. That's spiritual. Synchronization. Angels are aligning hearts before hands ever reach out. And this is why the reunion will shock you. Because when it comes, it won't feel forced. It will feel inevitable. There will be a sense of, this makes sense now. You'll realize the separation wasn't rejection. It was redirection. God wasn't saying no. He was saying, not like that. Angels say the reunion does not begin with a grand apology. It begins with an interruption. Something small, something unexpected, something that seems ordinary, but carries divine weight. A message you didn't expect. A question that feels unnecessary but intentional. A moment where your name suddenly appears in their life again. Angels say, not you, because if you reached out first, the old imbalance would return. This time. Heaven ensures clarity, not confusion. The person who once hesitated will feel an urgency they can't explain. They won't fully understand why they're reaching out only. That resisting it feels heavier than acting. And when that message comes, it will hit you in the chest. Your hands may shake. Your heart may race. Your mind may freeze. Not because you're weak, but because your spirit recognizes the moment. Angels say this contact comes after you've made peace with the possibility of never hearing from them again. That's why it's shocking. You already let go, already surrendered. You already accepted God's will, even if it meant loss. That surrender is what unlocks the door. Angels reveal that the first interaction may feel awkward, not romantic, dramatic, honest. There will be pauses. Careful words, an emotional restraint you've never seen from them before. Because this time, they are aware of what they risk losing again. They won't rush. They'll test the ground. And that alone will feel unfamiliar, in a good way. Angels say the reason this reunion will break you emotionally is because you will feel seen for the first time. They will acknowledge things they once ignored. They will admit confusion they once denied. They will recognize your value without being prompted. And you won't know how to respond at first, because you prepared yourself for absence, not understanding. Angels say this is where many people make a mistake. They speak from memory instead of wisdom. But hear this carefully. Let them speak. Let them explain. Let them reveal who they are now, not who they were. Because the reunion God is orchestrating is not about reliving the past. It's about reintroducing. To transform people. Angels say God will give you discernment in this stage. You will notice differences. How they listen. How they respond. How they take responsibility. These are not small details. They are confirmation. If the reunion is from God, it will feel safe, even when it's emotional. You won't feel anxious. You won't feel confused. You won't feel like you're walking on eggshells. There will be nervousness, yes, but also peace. Angels say something powerful. It brings clarity. And this is why the reunion shocks everyone else. Because it doesn't come with drama. It doesn't come with explanation to outsiders. It doesn't seek validation. It simply unfolds. Quietly. Purposefully. Angels are showing that after the first contact, there will be a pause, a moment of reflection. This is intentional. God allows space for choice, not impulse. During this time, both of you will process. You will ask yourself, am I strong enough to protect what I've become? They will ask themselves, am I ready to show up differently? Angels say when communication resumes, it will be deeper. Truth replaces surface talk. Vulnerability replaces defensiveness. Presence replaces avoidance. And here is the part that will truly break you emotionally. They will admit that losing you changed them, not as a manipulation, not as a tactic, but as a realization. Angels say you'll feel tears come unexpectedly because you no longer need those words. But hearing them confirms God's work. This reunion will not erase the past, but it will redeem it. God is not pretending nothing happened. He is transforming everything that did. Angels say this reunion could not happen sooner. Not because God delayed out of cruelty, but because timing determines outcome. If this reunion had happened earlier, it would have collapsed under the weight of unresolved wounds. God does not restore prematurely. He restores completely. Angels say the season you just walked through was not waiting time. It was weight building time. God was strengthening your spirit, so you could carry what's coming without losing yourself. Earlier, you would have accepted half-truths. Earlier, you would have overlooked red flags. Earlier, you would have compromised your peace to keep the connection alive. But now, you know who you are. You know your worth. You know when something is aligned and when it isn't. That wisdom is the reason heaven says, now. Angels reveal that timing is also about environment. There were influences around both of you that could not remain. Distractions. Opinions. Attachments. Interference. God had to remove noise before restoring connection, because what God is rebuilding requires privacy, not secrecy protection. Angels say something critical here. Some people only knew the broken version of the story. They don't have the faith to understand restoration, and that's okay. God is not seeking approval. He is establishing alignment. Angels say another reason for the timing is identity. You both had to stop defining yourselves by the relationship. You had to become whole as individuals, because when two incomplete people reunite, they create dependency, not destiny. God waited until wholeness replaced longing. That is when reunion becomes powerful. Angels are showing that you've recently experienced a shift. You stopped asking when. You stopped replaying old conversations. You stopped living in anticipation. You chose presence. That decision signaled heaven. God responds quickly to surrender. Meanwhile, the other person reached a breaking point. Not externally, internally. Something didn't work out. Something fell apart. Something exposed truth they avoided. Angels say, and that discomfort made space for conviction. This is why the reunion is happening now, because they are finally listening. Angels say divine timing is not about clocks. It's about readiness. Readiness to speak truth. Readiness to hear truth. Readiness to rebuild slowly. This reunion does not rush into labels or promises. It honors process. And God loves process, because process protects hearts. Angels want you to hear this clearly. If it threatens your peace, it is not from God. The fact that you feel grounded, even while emotional, is confirmation. God does not bring back what will destroy what He healed. He brings back what can grow with you. Angels say timing also includes forgiveness. Not forgetting forgiving. You didn't excuse the pain. You released the power it had over you. That release unlocked heaven's permission, because bitterness blocks blessings, and you chose freedom. Angels reveal that when the reunion fully unfolds, you'll realize something surprising. You no longer need it to happen. You welcome it, but you don't require it. And that emotional independence is exactly what makes this reunion sustainable. God waited until love was no longer mixed with fear, because fear-based love cannot survive growth. Angels say the reason this reunion will break you emotionally is because it comes when you least expect to need it. You already learned to stand. So when God allows connection again, it feels like grace, not rescue, and grace always humbles the heart. Angels say not every reunion is meant to last, but this one is meant to transform. God is not restoring familiarity. He is restoring function. This connection was never about filling loneliness. It was about fulfilling purpose. And that's why God dismantled it the first time, because comfort can feel like love, but covenant requires growth. Angels say the difference will become clear quickly. Comfort avoids difficult conversations. Covenant invites them. Comfort seeks reassurance. Covenant seeks responsibility. Comfort asks, do you still want me? Covenant asks, how can I show up better? Angels reveal that this reunion carries structure. Boundaries will be discussed. Expectations will be clarified. Patterns will be addressed, not ignored. And you will feel something unfamiliar. Safety, not excitement mixed with anxiety, but peace mixed with hope. Angels say, if this reunion were based on comfort, it would rush. It would lean into nostalgia. It would avoid accountability. It would repeat old language. But this reunion moves slowly and intentionally. God is building on truth, not emotion. Angels want you to notice something important. That doesn't mean you don't care. It means you are no longer controlled by attachment. That emotional freedom is what allows covenant to form. Because covenant is chosen, not clung to. Angels say the other person feels this shift too. They sense that access to you is no longer automatic. And instead of running, they step up. That's how you know God changed them. Someone who hasn't healed resents boundaries. Someone who is healed respects them. Angels reveal that God is restoring trust differently this time, not through promises. Through consistency, you will see effort without reminders, honesty without pressure, presence without confusion. And this will challenge you emotionally, because you trained yourself not to expect this. You prepared for disappointment, not reliability. So when reliability shows up, it feels almost unreal. Angels say, because your heart remembers pain, but your spirit recognizes healing. And there will be moments when fear whispers, what if it happens again? Angels say, don't silence that fear, observe it. Fear does not mean misalignment. Unhealed fear means memory. And God heals memory through new experiences. That's what this reunion provides. Not erasure replacement. Angels reveal that covenant love matures. You. It doesn't consume you. You will still have your own life, your own growth, your own joy, and they will support it, not compete with it. If they ever try to shrink you again, God will expose it quickly. But angels say this time, they won't, because they know what it costs to lose you. Angels want you to hear this clearly. It's about moving forward together or not at all. And you will have the strength to walk away if necessary. That's why God trusts you with this opportunity. Now. Angels say, covenant doesn't promise perfection. It promises commitment to correction. And that is what's being offered. Angels say that every God-orchestrated reunion comes with a test. Not a trap, not a punishment, but a divinely designed moment to see if both hearts are ready to move forward. This test will appear naturally, not forced, not dramatic, not announced. It will be emotional. Something triggers it. A disagreement, a misunderstanding, a memory resurfacing. And suddenly, everything feels fragile again. Angels are showing this moment clearly. If either of you leans on old patterns, the opportunity falters. If either of you reacts from fear or pride, progress stalls. But if both of you act with discernment, humility, and patience, the reunion solidifies. Angels reveal the reason this test exists. God wants to see who you've truly become, not who you were, not who you wish you could be, not who they think you are. Person who returns will also face this truth. They will be confronted with the reality of their own growth and accountability. Angels say, it confirms your readiness. It confirms their transformation. It confirms the reunion is from God, not desperation. During this test, you will feel strong emotions surfacing. Fear that history repeats. Doubt that promises can be kept. Temptation to retreat into old patterns. This is normal. Angels say it is part of the healing process. Your response will determine the trajectory of the reunion. Reacting with patience and understanding signals readiness for covenant. Reacting with defensiveness or withdrawal signals that more growth is needed. Angels emphasize, heaven has orchestrated every step. Even the test is intentional. It weeds out attachments based on comfort or fear. Protects your peace and your purpose. Angels are showing that those who pass this test experience a shift in emotional depth. Suddenly, there's clarity. Suddenly, there's trust. Suddenly, there's a feeling of rightness that is undeniable. You will look at them and feel, this is who I was waiting for, the one who has grown as I have. And they will feel the same. Angels say something important about timing. This test often happens before the reunion reaches public view. Before others know, you are back in contact. Before friends and family weigh in. Before assumptions form. Because God wants the foundation unshakable before it is visible. And here's a key warning from the angels. If old patterns show up, step back. Not settle. God is not asking for a return to what was comfortable. He is asking for a return to what is covenantal. Angels say that once this test is passed, the reunion takes on a new dimension. It becomes aligned with destiny. It becomes mutually respectful. It becomes spiritually and emotionally secure. You will no longer worry about the what-ifs, because God has confirmed both sides are ready. And that confirmation is the moment your heart will truly break. In the best possible way, not from pain, not from loss, but from awe. The awe of seeing God's orchestration. The awe of seeing someone transformed by his timing. The awe of realizing he kept his promise while you waited. Angels reveal that this is also when healing. Conversations occur. Words that were left unsaid. Apologies that were never made. Truths that were too difficult to speak before. All of it surfaces, but with grace. And because of the preparation in previous stages, you will navigate these moments with clarity, wisdom, and calm. Angels are showing the final point of this test. And everything that follows every interaction, every step forward is anchored in divine alignment. Angels say that once the test is passed, the reunion transforms into something rare and divinely protected. No longer feels fragile or uncertain. It feels anchored in purpose and destiny. This is where heaven's work becomes visible in your life. Angels reveal the first signs. Communication flows naturally. No manipulation. No games. No forcing. Words come from the heart. Messages, calls, and meetings feel effortless, yet meaningful. Consistency replaces chaos. They show up when they said they would. They follow through. Their actions now match their words. This is the hallmark of covenant love. Emotional alignment deepens. You no longer feel the old anxiety. Disagreements are met with respect, not defensiveness. You feel seen, heard, and valued in ways that were previously missing. Spiritual awareness emerges. You notice God's hand in small details. Shared dreams, unplanned encounters, encouragement at the perfect moment, even quiet nudges that guide both of you closer. Mutual growth becomes central. Instead of holding each other back, you push each other forward. You support each other's goals, faith, and purpose. There's no competition, only encouragement. Angels say this is where most people miss the blessing. They think reunion means everything returns to the way it was, but God's version is always higher, better, stronger, rooted in eternity. Angels reveal that the pace will feel different from the past. No rushing, no desperate demands, no unrealistic expectations. This is intentional. God wants the connection to thrive naturally. And here's a key sign. Little mistakes that once triggered anger now slide by. Misunderstandings resolve quickly. Patience replaces pride. Why? Because God has shifted hearts to value restoration over resentment. Angels want you to recognize another sign. Joy becomes a constant companion. Even during challenges, there's a lightness in the connection, a feeling of being understood, a sense that you are finally walking the path you are meant to walk together. Angels emphasize that this restoration is not just emotional. It's spiritual, mental, and relational. It touches every area of your life, your purpose, your faith, and even your family. This is the divine blueprint. Growth first, preparation second. Reunion third. And once this unfolds fully, angels say you will feel a deep, almost overwhelming sense of gratitude. Gratitude that you survived the separation. Gratitude that they changed. Gratitude that God honored your faithfulness. Because this reunion was never about convenience. It was never about comfort. It was about fulfilling destiny. Angels want you to know one last thing about this stage. Even when everything feels right, continue to nurture it spiritually. Pray together. Support each other's growth. Protect the connection from distractions. Celebrate small victories. This will ensure the reunion remains blessed and avoids repeating old patterns. Angels also reveal a subtle but powerful confirmation. You will feel a sense of rightness in your soul. Not just happiness, not just relief, a deep knowing that says, this is exactly where I am meant to be. This is God's stamp on the connection. Angels say that once God restores a connection, the work does not end. Reunion is powerful, but alignment requires maintenance. This is where many miss heaven's blessing. They return to old habits, and the bond struggles. Angels reveal the first rule to one. Guard your heart and your peace. Do not let past hurts dictate your present. Do not allow old insecurities to drive your reactions. Peace is the soil in which covenant love grows. Second, rule to two. Communicate with intention. Speak clearly. Listen carefully. Share thoughts and feelings honestly, but with love. God wants this connection built on truth, not assumptions. Third rule. 3. Pray together and separately. Spiritual alignment is just as important as emotional. Praying together strengthens bonds. Praying separately strengthens character. Angels say this step is what sustains covenant love over time. Fourth rule. 4. Respect boundaries. Boundaries are not walls. They are guidelines for safety and respect. Angels emphasize that respecting each other's personal space and decisions prevents regression. Fifth rule. 5. Celebrate growth, not perfection. You will see moments of weakness from them, and maybe even from yourself. Angels say to celebrate progress and effort, not flawless behavior. Covenant love flourishes when growth is appreciated. Angels also reveal signs that you are staying aligned. You feel joy even in small interactions. Challenges are met with cooperation, not conflict. You sense God's presence guiding your choices. Trust deepens rather than eroding. If you notice these signs, angels say, but there's another layer. Avoid comparisons and expectations. Do not compare the current relationship to the past. Do not expect instant perfection. God is restoring something new, not recreating old patterns. Angels emphasize that this is where patience becomes your superpower. Patience allows God to shape the union according to His timing, rather than your desires. Rushing or forcing connection can undo months, even years of divine work. Another important step, keep your spiritual focus first. Your reunion is meant to serve your destiny, not distract from it. Angels say that couples aligned in God's purpose lift each other up, rather, and pull each other down. This ensures the connection remains a blessing, not a burden. Finally, angels want you to remember, forgiveness is continuous. Old wounds may resurface. Mistakes may happen, but covenant love allows grace to flow continually. This is not about being naive. It's about trusting God to heal through the relationship. Angels say if you follow these steps, guarding peace intentional, communication, prayer, respecting boundaries, celebrating growth, practicing patience, maintaining spiritual focus, continuous forgiveness, then your reunion will remain protected and blessed long term. And here's a final sign from heaven. When the relationship is aligned, angels reveal that joy and peace surpass fear and doubt. Even in challenges, the connection feels like home, not because it is perfect, but because it is God-ordained and divinely nurtured. Angels say this: every step you walked alone, every tear you shed, every moment of silence and separation, it was all preparation for this very moment. God has been orchestrating this reunion quietly, deliberately, and with perfect timing. And now, the moment of alignment is here. Angels reveal the final confirmations that this reunion is truly from God. Peace in your heart, even with emotional intensity. You feel grounded. You are no longer driven by fear or desperation. Your soul knows this is divine timing, consistency in their actions. They no longer waver. Promises are kept. Words and actions finally match. Mutual growth and respect. You both celebrate each other's progress. You encourage each other's purpose. You support each other spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. Joy that surpasses past pain. Even when challenges arise, laughter, peace, and love dominate. The heaviness of the past cannot overshadow the light of what God is restoring. Angels emphasize that these signs are irrefutable confirmations, because this is more than just romance. This is restoration of destiny. Your story is no longer defined by heartbreak or absence. It is defined by faith, surrender, and divine intervention. Angels say something extraordinary. Your reunion will shock not just you, but everyone who doubted or underestimated God's timing. People may question, how did it happen? Why now? Why them? The answer is simple: call on God. Not chance, not luck, not persistence alone. God orchestrated every detail. And now, the choice is yours. Will you embrace this blessing fully? Will you walk forward with faith, courage, and love? Angels want you to understand that embracing this reunion means continuing to trust God's plan, prioritizing spiritual alignment over comfort, protecting your peace above all else. Honoring growth in both yourself and your partner. This is the moment where your heart truly breaks in awe and gratitude, not sorrow, because you are witnessing the power of divine restoration. Angels reveal that your journey, the waiting, the healing, the tests has all led to this. A reunion that is stable, purposeful, and destined. And now, heaven wants you to take action. Be present. Be patient. Be faithful. Celebrate every step together. Because God's work is alive in this connection. Final words from the angels. Angels say, you did not lose them. You were preserved. You were protected. And now, the reunion is not about the past. It is about fulfilling destiny together. They remind you, this is covenant. Not comfort. This is alignment. Not chance. This is God's timing. Not your rush. And as you step into this blessing, angels say, do not forget the lessons learned. Do not forget the growth earned. And do not forget who brought you back together. If this message resonated with you, angels want you to share it with your spirit, your heart, and your community. Like this video to affirm that you recognize God's work in your life. Comment below, share your journey, your growth, or your own reunion story. Subscribe to this channel for more messages from the angels, guidance, and spiritual insight that keeps you aligned with your destiny. Angels say every like, comment, and subscription helps spread the light of divine wisdom to others waiting for their own miracle. Remember, your story is not over. Your story is being rewritten by heaven itself. And your reunion is only the beginning of a new chapter, one written with love, purpose, and divine timing. Stay faithful, stay open, stay in alignment, because God is not just reuniting you. He is restoring destiny in a way no one saw coming.